Hi guys, it's Catspace here. It's been a while since I do talking videos, so I'm a little bit nervous today, but I'm also very excited to want to share with you my journey becoming a vegetarian. So let's check it out. Okay, so as you see it from the title, today I want to talk about how I became a vegetarian in Japan. So I became vegetarian last year, 1st of October. So now it's 1 year, 1 month of me becoming a vegetarian. I guess this video is about me sharing my experience also for myself to kind of document my journey. I became vegetarian after I come to Japan. So let's trace back. So first and foremost, why I want to become a vegetarian. I'll give you all a head up about my background. I'm from Malaysia, so for Malaysian Chinese, it's not something new about vegetarian. Most of the Chinese are Buddhism in Malaysia. So because of the religion in Buddhism, we have vegetarian practice. So it's not something that's so unfamiliar for me. My parents are Buddhism, so they have been doing this practice since I was very young. So basically, they usually do 2 days per month as a vegetarian. So I remember since I was a kid, maybe around when I was in primary school, like when my mom is a vegetarian that day, sometimes she just bring me along to go to a vegetarian restaurant and we just have vegetarian food. So I've been knowing this since I was young. But interesting thing is, so I was a kid that time, right? So I remember my mom bring me to vegetarian restaurant, and of course I'm a normal kid, so I was like, I order vegetarian char siu and all the vegetarian meat stuff. And I remember the vegetarian char siu I had, it tastes so bad. The bad as in, like, again, I was a kid, so I know it doesn't taste like a real meat. It just tastes like, flour or something. So I was like, ew, this just tastes bad. And since then, I really had a very bad impression towards vegetarian food. And I only like to eat those vegetarian food which is deep fried kind of. They are not like vegetarian. I just like to eat deep fried food, okay? Overall, I still had a bad impressions on vegetarian food. So this is how my impressions towards vegetarian last time. The thing that changed me is when I went to university, one of my housemates, she's vegetarian. So after I know her, it kind of changed something in my mind, especially the impression towards vegetarian food in my mind. So my vegetarian friend that time, first of all, she is not that kind of strict vegetarian. I would say a chin chai vegetarian. So as long as the meal doesn't contain meat or seafood, it's okay. So like, some sauce or this and that tiny little thing. I mean, if she can tolerate it, she's usually fine with that. So she's very tolerate with her vegetarian diet. So she's basically my first full vegetarian friend, as in, like I said previously, like my mom, she become vegetarian twice a month, that kind of like partially, but my friend is a full vegetarian. And even that time, I don't feel stressed or any bad impression to get along with her. I didn't get some idea or thought that forced onto me. Everything just go very easy. Sometimes I tolerate with her. If I don't want to tolerate with her, I want to have meat or what, it's okay. She can understand too. So we don't force each other. So I would say the whole, experience, especially on dietary experience with her, it's easy for me. I have a good impression. And then the thing is, so she is the first friend who brought me to all this so nice vegetarian restaurant in Malaysia. I was so shocked, I was like, before that I was like, vegetarian food just tastes bad. But the ones she brought me, they all taste so good. I was like, my eyes what, how can they make such a nice food without meat, And then I started to realize something, like especially for Malaysian cuisine, most of the food the soul is from the spice and the sauce. So as long as you know how to make the sauce or make around with all the spice, even it's not about meat or meat. You can replace something with the meat, but as long as you use the correct sauce, you still can bring all the flavor up. And yeah, and that's the point I realized that, oh, the food that I like to eat, the meat that I like to eat last time is not because of the meat, it's because of the sauce. So if the chef know how to cook it good, like Jozu, if the chef know how to cook it, so vegetarian food can be so nice, and it's another level. It even tastes better than my normal meat meal, I would say. That's why it's something really surprised me and make my eyes open. Okay, so since then, since I was in university, I started to have good impression towards vegetarian food, and I always ask my friend to bring me to all the nice vegetarian food. I started to explore vegetarian restaurant with her. Okay, but that's all. Like I still like enjoy eating vegetarian food, and but also like meat. Oh, also because she's my housemate, so we live together. From there, I got a chance to see how her lifestyle be, vegetarian dietary lifestyle. Like if I didn't live with her, I think from normal people to step into vegetarian dietary lifestyle, usually we will think it's very hard, right? We are like, all you can eat is just vegetable, like, and then it sounds boring, and we have no idea what they can eat. But because I live together with my friend, my housemate that time, I can see how she can cook. She can cook curry like just without meat. I see how she has a meal, so I know that I can eat mamak, I can eat this, I can eat this. There's a lot of things I still can eat as long as I request like no meat. That's why I have that idea also, like seems like becoming vegetarian is not as hard as I thought, because from my experience staying with her, I got to see what food option that a vegetarian can have, and it's not as limited as I thought, right? Okay, so that experience is 7-8 years ago. Okay, so since then it's just normal. I just have another like different perspective, different impression towards vegetarian, but I didn't have the very strong thought like, I want to become vegetarian or what. I still don't want to sacrifice the meat. Right, I still want to eat meat. I just still want to be a normal happy people enjoying my food. And then another experience that kind of impact me is that I think 2-3 years after that, which actually during COVID. So there's also one incident. It's like my grandmother passed away during COVID, and my grandmother is a very religious Buddhism, I would say. So that time is during COVID. So even though my grandmother, she passed away, I didn't manage to went back for her funeral, and I didn't manage to meet her for the last time. So I was stuck in Singapore that time. When my grandmother passed away, I don't know, I just want to do something, and this come to my thought. I tried 1 week to become a vegetarian because I know my grandmother is very religious, and I feel like something I can do for her is that I just try to avoid killing animals like in Buddhism practice. So I was like, okay, let's do 1 week like meatless for my grandmother. At that time I tried 1 week meatless in Singapore, and in the end things just went so well. I actually filmed my meatless vlog here. it's so old. I'm a little bit shy to post it up here, but if you're interested, you can check it out. You can also trace back a bit of my life in Singapore. Yeah, anyway, I'm not a strict vegetarian too during the time. I do like my friend that time, like I just requested no meat. Okay, the sauce, is fine for me. So that's the first time I became vegetarian fully for 1 whole week, like in practically, right? Yeah, in the end I realized it's not that hard. Okay, it's not that difficult. Life still go on very good, and like of course there's some inconvenience that you cannot eat food as long as you want easily, but overall I remember my experience is still good. That time I think deep in my heart I kind of know that okay, I feel like it's something that I can do, right? Like it's not that it's impossible thing for me. I think since then I kind of have this kind of thought inside me that yeah, that's the time that I feel like in the future one day I will become a vegetarian, but I'm not ready yet, honestly. So I just know in the future one day. I thought it will be in my 30s or maybe 40s, honestly. I'm going to become vegetarian when I'm ready. Okay, so that's the first part of the story. So this is some of my background, and since then whenever I meet vegetarian friend or vegan friend, I always curious about like, you know, how they have their like dietary lifestyle. So I always ask like, why you become vegetarian, vegan, so how do you usually, you know, have protein, this and that, what do you usually eat. I honestly get more and more idea of it, and I started to understand more like how people get protein, this and that. And before I becoming vegetarian, I realized I'm not too much on meat lover, honestly. So I don't really like to eat mutton or like beef or some other meat except of pork and chicken and seafood. Yeah, I really love seafood. My favorite is pork, but because a few years ago when I did body checkup, I kind of got like high cholesterol. At that time when I asked the doctor like, how can I get rid of this or something like this, and the doctor said try to avoid taking too much red meat. So since then I try to tone down the consumption of red meat, which is pork. That's why the last few years before I become vegetarian, my meal mostly are chicken only. I'm not too big fan of chicken. It's just easy to access and yeah, easy to go anything. Before I moved to Japan, in Singapore or Malaysia, I can easily have fish. But after I come to Japan, of course Japan is also easy to get fish, but I don't really like raw fish. So even I eat fish here, it's usually just salmon or like normal Sabah fish. But the fish I like to eat is the Malaysia style of big fish. Okay, this kind of small fish I'm not too big fan of it too. So anyway, after I moved to Japan, I don't really consume fish too. Like when I cook by myself, usually I just buy chicken or maybe pork, that's all. But then my dietary style started to change too, like in these few years. First, I tried intermittent fasting. So during intermittent fasting, I'm not just have a eating window because I want to make sure I'm not getting hungry. So that's the time that I have a balanced meal, which I really take note on my protein consumption, my fiber and my carbs. And then also there's a period of time I'm trying to do workout. That's why I also have a very clean diet. That's just 1 year before I became vegetarian. So 1 year before I became vegetarian, my diet at that time is kind of clean. So I just eat like chicken breast and then maybe, you know, broccoli, fiber, fruit, vegetable along, and then some carbs. And carbs I try to get like good carbs too, like sweet potato or yeah, sometimes rice, pasta. So I already have a very clean diet at that time. Not too much of sauce and not too much of deep fry or this and that. Honestly, the flavor is very thin, very bland, very plain, right? So that's how I already got used with the kind of dietary lifestyle. So the point when I become vegetarian is not too hard for me because like all the background I have here, I'm not a big meat lover and I already started to have clean diet. Becoming vegetarian just make the choice become lesser, like I cannot choose meat, but it's not a very huge change for me. It's not like I'm a big meat lover, hamburger, this and that, and then jump to vegetarian, right? So I don't know. So anyway, for me, it's not too hard. Let's come to why I want to become vegetarian. So there's a little bit story in front, right? So just now I mentioned like, so in the future, I already know I will become vegetarian. I just wait for the day I'm getting ready. So last year, do I get ready to become vegetarian? No, actually no. I just noticed after this thing, I just noticed you never get ready. You are never ready. You just have to just do it, okay? So how I became vegetarian is that I always have this thought in my mind, right? I want to become vegetarian, but you know, a lot of things pull me back. I feel like it's like inconvenient, mendokusai, and I just not well prepared at what food I can have if I become vegetarian. Also, some of the other reason is that I don't want to be the troublesome person. I guess that's also one of the reason like stopping me from being a vegetarian, because I think that, oh, when I have to hang out with my friend, you know, because of my dietary restriction, it's just inconvenient, troublesome. So yeah, that's the thing I'm concerned about. Anyway, last year I met some vegetarian friend, and I asked them, why you become vegetarian, how do you consume food, this and that. And I also told them like, you know what, I actually want to become vegetarian. I know I will become vegetarian in one day, but I just don't know when I'm gonna start. And my friend at the time, she just told me like, just start tomorrow. Like, just decide tomorrow. And then she said like, if you tell everyone you are going to become vegetarian tomorrow, you're gonna do it. So while I'm still, you know, reluctant, thinking that, is it tomorrow? And she already helped me to announce to other friends around me that during that time, she just tell everyone like, Catherine gonna become vegetarian starting from tomorrow. And I was like, and I already have no turnaround, no reverse button. So yes, and because of my friend pushed me for a bit, and I started to become vegetarian. The thing is, I live in a share house, right? So when everyone know that I become vegetarian, honestly, when I cook, I couldn't cheat. Most of the time I couldn't cheat. I have to really do what I said, right? So I think that's also helped to guide me for a bit. Like, you know, if I'm doing it alone, I might have cheat, and just maybe it wouldn't be a so successful one. But anyway, that time is like that, and I do told my friend around me, like announce to my friend around me like I became vegetarian. So yeah, when I hang out with them, I have also no turnaround, right? Yeah, so and that's how I became vegetarian. And then I want to also share about my experience after I become vegetarian. Is it hard or is it easy in Japan? So I would say most of the people, when I told them I became vegetarian, they're like, what? Why you want to choose in Japan? Because if you have some idea, Japan, it's honestly not a vegetarian friendly country, because for most of the Japanese people, they don't really have the idea of vegetarian. Yeah, they just don't know that, oh, vegetarian means you cannot have meat or you cannot have seafood. Most of them still thought that, oh, you are vegetarian, you cannot have meat, but you can have seafood. That's what Japanese people understand. That's why they don't really have vegetarian culture in Japan. For me, honestly, it's not difficult. There's a few reasons. Keep it short is like, first, I usually cook my meal. Even before I became vegetarian, most of the time, if I have time, I will cook my meal. If I become vegetarian, it will be easy. I just replace meat with something else like tofu or beans or this and that. And I kind of know how to cook it, so it's okay. But when I have to eat outside, so how can I do? I'm staying near to Tokyo. Tokyo is so convenient. You have so many vegan restaurants, vegetarian restaurants. It's not too hard for me. And also Indian food is a very easy, accessible restaurant. And I love Indian food, so I can eat Indian food almost every day. So again, it's so easy for me. Apart of that, it depends on the restaurant. Sometimes I just request that, oh, can you take away the meat or seafood from this dish? And they can do it for me. And then the thing is, I am not a strict vegetarian. Especially, I know that the first year I'm trying to adapt to vegetarian dietary, I actually tell myself I don't have to be too strict. You know, some sauce, this and that is fine. And I would say during this whole year, I'm not 100% vegetarian. I would say sometimes I still cheat, especially the early stage. I think this one whole year, I'm almost 88% vegetarian. Don't ask me how I get this number. I just think that it's this number. My favorite dish is actually unagi, like the unagi, the fish. So I sometimes still eat unagi don. Yeah, sometimes I still cheat a little bit, you know. That's also a very good process for myself to know, do I really like meat now? First, I was like, I miss meat. And then sometimes when I cheat, I was like, this meat doesn't taste very good for me. And then towards now, I was like, nah, when I eat meat, I don't feel the happiness or joyful anyway. So I was like, rather I don't eat meat, right? So anyway, like the cheating helped me to know myself more, and I know where am I now. Yeah, so I try to make myself flexible. If I hang out with friends, sometimes they cannot customize my order, I just give my meat to my friend, you know, try to be flexible. So that's how my vegetarian dietary nowadays. But I can imagine if I decided to become vegetarian in Malaysia or Singapore, I think it would be so hard for me. It's not hard to access to vegetarian restaurant in Malaysia, but oh my god, I have so many tempting food in Malaysia. How can people resist food in Malaysia, right? I cannot resist Ramly burger, spicy McChicken, and just a lot of stuff. So honestly, I think if I were in Malaysia, I don't think I can successfully become a vegetarian. So I'm glad that I become vegetarian in Japan. This year, I did went back to Malaysia for one time, and yeah, because I really get some time to get used to it. So that time when I went back to Malaysia, I still have a lot of food that I tempted to eat, but my mom kind of like be supportive, very supportive in a way. She helped me a lot. Like she tried to stop me when I want to have a few bite of meat or seafood. She was like, no, stick to your dietary. If you're vegetarian now, just don't do that, right? And she's very supportive. When I went back home, she cooked me a lot of vegetarian meal. I'm very grateful, and it makes my vegetarian journey easier. In the end, I also want to share about how I feel after I became a vegetarian. Until now, all I can feel, it's all benefits. I don't really see that cons after I became vegetarian. Few things I learned or realized about after becoming vegetarians. The first one is like I started to understand people who are with a certain dietary restriction. For example, in Malaysia, like Muslim, they cannot eat pork, right? So before I became vegetarian, I don't understand. I was like, it's so sad of them, they cannot have pork. You know, when I look at them, my feeling is like pity. Or even before I became vegetarian, when I met vegetarian friend, I was like, so sad, you can only eat vegetable. But now after I became vegetarian, instantly I can relate to them so easily. And yeah, you know, the people who have dietary restriction, especially it's their own choice, for them, they don't feel pity. Actually, for them, they feel very happy. I think the reason is because we got to choose our own dietary. Is the thing about we have the power to choose what we want, what we have, and that kind of power to choose is a gift. Not everyone have the flexibility to choose what they want, to choose what to eat, right? I always remember that one of my vegetarian friend last time, he told me that that time I'm still not vegetarian, but he told me that becoming a vegetarian remind him how grateful of his life is because he has the ability to choose. He has the honestly certain financial level to choose what you want to have, right? Because if you look at the people for poverty area, can they choose what they have? No, they just have to eat what they have, right? If they got bread, they eat bread. If they got meat, they have to just eat meat, so they don't have choice. But I do agree with my friend. I think that now I became a vegetarian, which means I have a choice to choose what the life that I want to go with. So I'm being very grateful for this, and I also try to remind myself about this. The one I mentioned just now, like after I become a vegetarian, I started to understand like different people's dietary restriction, and not only dietary, I started to understand that even everyone lifestyle, they themselves have their own reason to choose this lifestyle. It could be very different than me, but I just realized that there's just so many different perspectives. People have different lifestyle, different dietary restriction, different preference. I don't know, I just feel like my tolerance and understandable towards other people expanded. So I feel like I got more open-minded than before. Last time, of course, I respect people, but I don't understand and I can relate a little bit better. I also remember another thing that helped me personally. I remember the first day, that's my dinner. I went to convenience store and I want to buy my dinner. And when I stepped inside, I was like, whoa, everything I cannot eat. And I just look for something that I can eat. Maybe just 5 out of everything that I can eat. And then I just choose them and then I just go. And then that moment, I feel like, oh my God, life becomes so easy. I just go and grab what I can eat and I just pay and I just go. It's just less than maybe 5 minutes. But last time, when I always went to convenience store, I have to take forever there. Okay, looking at the new products, new food. This looks nice, that looks nice. What should I eat, this or that? And it just, I don't like it. It just wastes my time. It just takes me forever to just buy a dinner. And after I become vegetarian, it makes my life easier and efficient, which I like it. And I realized, oh, that's something actually suit to my lifestyle, maybe also suit to my character, that is so efficient. Everything is just easy. And after that, even now when I have to go to a restaurant, if it's not a vegan restaurant or vegetarian restaurant, I look at the menu, I just see what I can eat. There's only one choice I can eat. Let's go to that one. This thing maybe for some people is like a con, but for me it's a pros. I was like, easy. Just get it fast and done. I was surprised with this thing. It just amazed me how it fit to my lifestyle so well now. Before all the vegetarian experience, so I'm really a very big people pleaser. Until the point that it's hard for me to say no when people ask me out. Yeah, like I said, one reason that stopped me becoming vegetarian is because I would be the one who is like troublesome, and it stopped me, right? But then after I become vegetarian, it made my life so easy, especially in this part. It's automatically helped me filter a lot of unnecessary lunch date or dinner date, because it's not as easy to ask me out as before. Because now if you want to ask me out, so we have to think where we have to go, like which meal I can have. And you know, if the people are not willing to take the effort, they will just not asking you out anymore, which I think is good. I mean, we can still be friends, but then it's not necessary to force each other out just for the outing. Anyway, it helped me to reduce unnecessary outing, and it also helped me to see which outing or which friend is more valuable. I mean, come to a certain age, you have to filter your friend or network better, because if you keep socialing, and most of it, if it's unnecessarily socialing, it's kind of make you exhausted. So it's good that I think this really helped me to filter a lot of this kind of thing. And some of my close friends, you know, after they know I became vegetarian, maybe some of them still complain, but they're still willing to put the effort to see, okay, let's see what you can eat now, which restaurant we can go, this and that. And it makes me feel like warm and like happy, you know, like this thing just helped me to filter some of my social and network around me, which is a good thing. I didn't expect that. And of course now I am a vegetarian. Most of the time I have to stand on my boundaries strong. I don't eat this, I don't eat that. Although it will still cause trouble for some people, but people who understand you, they will understand you. So I don't know, the leftover friendship now, like they understand my boundary, and I don't have to be so people pleaser like I was last time. So it just make my overall well-being healthier, I would say. It's kind of long and I don't know where am I. Okay, just make a quick conclusion. You know, if I meet some new people, when they ask me why I become vegetarian, I will usually say it's still my honest opinion, which the first reason is because of health. I just feel like vegetarian dietary suit me more, and for me it's a healthier dietary lifestyle. If you want to know more about this, I do have more thought on this thing. Let me know. I'll try to make another video to explain why I think vegetarian is more healthier dietary, which is not the common thing that you thought, because of we just eat more vegetable, not on that. But anyway, yeah. And then I also kind of not big, but I do concern about environmental issue. I try to be as environmental friendly as I can. So vegetarian dietary help me with that. Like, give me a lot of support for that, align with my value on environmental friendly thing. So yeah. And last one is the animals. I love dog. I have pet dog, cats, and I love all kind of animals. But if it's only for animal that I become vegetarian, honestly my love towards them is still not strong enough until I'm willing to become vegetarian. Because for animals, it's also part of the reason, but not the main reason. But I'm happy that, yeah, because I'm vegetarian now, I also try to do what I can do for the animals and the environmental. Yeah, so this is most of the long story short reason when I have to explain to people. Anyway, finally, after one whole year, after so many of my thought about me being vegetarian, finally I have time to make this video and share with you all. Oh yeah, for people who follow my Instagram, maybe most of you already know I became vegetarian. Like, I didn't announce it like, oh, I'm vegetarian now, but I do have a story highlight sharing all the vegetarian restaurant, vegan restaurant that I think is good in Tokyo area around Japan. So I just try to share for those who might need it. So yeah, in the future I still want to share more, because vegetarian vegan community is still a minority community in Japan, and I believe not everyone have a very smooth and easy transition as me. Many people still struggling, I think. So if you have any question, do you want to know more about my vegetarian journey, comment and let me know, or you can DM me, connect me in Instagram. Yeah, use whatever way you want to use. So I will try my best to share more of my own experience. Okay, so I think that's the end of this video for today. So subscribe to my channel and give this video a like, comment something that you want to comment. And I'll see you next time in the next video. Goodbye, bye bye.